Welcome to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, Season 6, Episode 2. My name is Pawel the Cat with my wonderful co-host.
Hi, I'm not so beautiful today, I guess. It's Evan REV Renaerts, known alias as @REV to you guys that follow on X. Man, we are back with our second show. Fabulous week last week. So
Yes.
can I just say to our Canadian friends that you guys were lagging last week. We had more viewers and followers from the United States than Canada. However, our Alberta boys, homebound boys, close to where we live, you guys were great following. And may I say, not just boys, but a lot of you girls. So our percentages on our Facebook, over 5,000, we had 37% female viewership. Wow, that's absolutely insane. So, but yeah, before we get going here, man, why don't you tell everybody how they can reach out to us and follow?
Remember that we are on twoguysinhockeytalk.com. We are here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We go live with everything. We've got a lot of great partnerships. We've got a great show to you tonight with a great guest. And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter /X, Facebook, wherever you get your thing, including YouTube. So go subscribe, go share. We appreciate you guys coming on and following us. Evan?
All right, man. We have a massively jam-packed show. So, guys, we've made an adjustment on the run. Our guest tonight, last minute, has made a change in their schedule to be able to join us. Jamie Baskow, we had advertised coming on. Things happen in live time, just like they do in any business. But again, our guest tonight has been able to adjust their schedule to be able to come tonight and join us with this. So I'm really excited. So why don't we go ahead and bring in our guest headliner.
Guest headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
Well, guys, we want to welcome Douglas Savage. So this guy has written a book. He's authored. It's all about the iconic great one, Wayne Gretzky, and around the rink stories that he has to share. Massive story. We just connected just recently. Weren't too sure we could get him on the show. He was okay to show up just before Christmas. Well, he has become our early Christmas gift. So we're going to get to talk a little bit before the season in the NHL starts, a little bit around some NHL stories. Welcome, Douglas Savage.
Thank you for having me on the show, guys.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you.
No
Like
problem.
with any guest that comes onto the show, we always ask them, where did your love of the game first emerge? Was there a moment or someone show you the game? How did you fall in love with hockey?
I fell in love with hockey when I was about 9-10 years old. I went to my first AFCO Cup game, and it was a game that the Winnipeg Jets won the AFCO Cup in 78-79. And me and my brother jumped on the ice and celebrated with the Jets, and it was quite the experience. I got my first pro stick. I got a stick from Peter Sullivan. Woo. And my love of the game just kind of started from there. Unfortunately, the Jets merged into the NHL, and we lost most of the great players, but that would be the start of it.
So let me ask you a quick question. What were the prices back then? Like, what was the price to get in a game back in the WHA days? Do you remember?
I don't remember the prices of those, but I remember that the prices for getting into Jets games when we weren't sneaking in, it was $4.50 to get a ticket at the McDonald's.
Ow.
Wow,
Ow.
that's almost the same price of a Costco hot dog. That's very impressive.
So I wonder at some point, so Doug, can I call you Doug or you go by Douglas?
It doesn't matter, either or.
Okay, so Douglas, let me ask you this. Do you think that we have a segment we call By the Numbers. We talk about numbers, whether it's salary cap. And I'm wondering if we should do a segment where it was $4.50 to get into a game, and how much did a star like Dale Hawerchuk actually make back in those days compared to their salary cap or what they spent? I bet you if we figured out the ratios, it still wouldn't come close, eh?
That's true. I'm not sure what Dale made, but I'm sure it was probably in about the $250,000 a year range.
Wow.
That's pretty good. So tell us a little bit about your book. Tell us a little bit about your story coming about writing about the great one and just around the game, around the rink, as we like to have our segment called.
Okay, well, the book was basically out of the dream of finding my Gretzky stick that he promised me after our walk in 1983. I had the stick signed to Doug Best Wishes, Wayne Gretzky, the following season, and unfortunately my brother had scoffed it off my wall and sold it. So it was my dream to reacquire that stick back and tell my story of my hero in Wayne Gretzky, and it all kind of merged together in 2011 when I met my co-author, the late John Davidson, who helped me transcribe my memoirs, and in doing so, we met Sean Chalk, who is the Gretzky of Gretzky collectors. He lives in Fort McMurray, and we reached out to him to see if he had my stick in his collection, and he didn't, but as it is, he actually found it this past Canada Day and contacted me saying, we found your stick. Some gentleman in Newfoundland, another collector friend, found it. Ironically, his name was Doug. So after 42 years, I actually finally know where it is now.
Okay, so let's just backtrack. Now, we're going to go back just to give people an idea of your book. So before, I want you to walk us along what happened with this walk with Gretzky. But before you do that, you just met the late John Davidson, who co-authored. Could you maybe just throw a shout out there for him?
Yes, my late co-author, he was a school teacher of 25 years. He worked for the Vancouver Crisis Center for 20 years during the 70s and the 80s. He was a tutor in Vancouver when he was retired, and basically I met him through there, and we became great friends, and he contacted Sean, and they were really good friends, and he was actually pen pals with Sean's youngest kid, Spencer, so he's a great guy.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's very impressive.
All right, well, I'm ready to take a walk, Pawel. How about you?
I am. Bring it.
Okay, Doug, you're going to walk us through. How did your walk come about with Wayne Gretzky?
Well, it was April 9th, 1983. I was in grade 7, and the Jets were getting ready to play Game 3 the following day. I had an inexplicable hunch, and I headed down to the Winnipeg Arena by myself, and I snuck into what was a closed practice, only open to the media and a small group of people. I watched the Oilers practice. They were helmetless, going through their paces. They had a really intense skate, even though they were up 2-0, and after the practice, I kind of waited out front with a couple other fans, and Wayne came out the normal channels. He would usually be sneaking out of the arena. This game, he walked out of the normal channels towards the team bus, and as everybody was getting his autograph, just as he was about to board the bus, he did a turnabout face, and he started strolling away. So I kind of quickly caught up to him and asked him if I could join in, and he looked down at me and smiled and said it was okay.
Okay, wow. And how did that conversation go? Did you just approach him? Was he willing to talk to a fan? I know he was very open with talking to most fans, but go ahead.
Yeah, he was very open and receptive. I had the feeling like he wanted to be alone, but he wasn't going to let me down on that day. And normally when Gretzky was out in public, he was usually with security and with other players. So to be one-on-one with him for a 40-minute walk was pretty surreal. And it started off with me introducing myself. I told him my name was Douglas, and his middle name is Douglas. And ironically, we had the same birth dates, so I told him that we had the same birthdays, January 26th. I don't know if he believed me at first, but he expressed that he thought that was a neat coincidence, and that's how the walk started.
That's absolutely crazy. I'm just going to put it up here for everybody. So, guys, if you want to follow, you can go pick up his book over at Amazon today. You can go buy your own copy, as well as you can follow him over on X, Instagram, and Facebook. So make sure, if you want to hear it, he's going to share some more parts of his story here. But, I mean, this is something that every kid, Douglas, dreamed about. I mean, I didn't even like Wayne Gretzky. But I wanted to be, when I was a Flames fan, so any Oilers fans, I apologize. I know you're all mad at me now. Please continue to watch the show. When I was a teenager, I still wanted to be at Northlands as the Flames and the Oilers were coming out. I had to be over there to see Wayne Gretzky, just to say I actually saw him. So, yes. I mean...
Well, that's the fact of most people if you weren't an Edmonton Oilers fan. I mean, he was destroying my team. They swept us 3 straight years in a row. It was 10 straight games, 83, 84, and 85. And I had a more of a dislike for him because we couldn't get close to him, I think, more than anything. And then, ironically, when I walked with him, I'm glad he didn't know that we used to sit in the upper decks of the Winnipeg Arena during closed practices, and we used to chant his name disrespectfully, and the Oilers would actually stop their practices to see what racket was going on up there as we were running around from corner to corner. But go ahead.
Who were you? Like what? Now, I believe you guys had a name around there, the bunch of you hecklers.
Yes, Coach Tom Watt came to our school assembly one year and saw the three of us sitting in the front row and blurted out, "I know you kids, you have more sticks than the Winnipeg Jets do," and he called us the Rink Rats, and that was how it got coined right from that day.
Now we know you can maybe attest to this, Douglas, that security isn't as lax as one would say as it was back in the day. But I think just being able to meet your hero, you hear different tales of like never meet your heroes. But it seems like meeting someone as big and as iconic as Wayne Gretzky, as Mr. 99, and what he was able to do for the game. What did you make of just his career, the movement he did, and him getting around? And we do have a comment from the audience. Someone's tuning in saying, "My prized possession in the hockey card collection is a Wayne Gretzky autograph number /99. That and a Carey Price sign." He's a big Montreal fan, stayed in my collection for life. But your thoughts on just Wayne Gretzky's career, Wayne Gretzky's impact on the game, not only in Edmonton, but some of the teams he's played in the league. Your thoughts?
Well, his impact on the game, it still goes to today, and it was revolutionary. Nobody will ever touch his records. His Stanley Cups, the way he was off the ice and the interactions he had with fans. I mean, the reason why he became my hero, it wasn't because of his stats and stuff like that. It was how humble he was and how down to earth he was. You wouldn't think that he was the greatest athlete on the planet at the time. And that's why he became my new hero. It's because of the way he acted off of the ice and how he treated me as a little kid.
So your parents, did they make a big deal about this? Did they talk to their friends, or did they not really realize the opportunity that you had at that time?
Well, to be honest, my mother and my stepdad, they didn't really like sports in general. That's why we went to all the games, because we weren't able to watch them at home. So if we weren't playing sports, we were out going to the games, and we never missed a game. And they weren't really into the sporting scene.
Okay. Yeah. That must have been interesting. So if people want to get a copy of your book beyond Amazon, is there anywhere else they can reach out to grab it? Because it sounds like a fascinating story. I myself am going to have to check this out once I'm done my myriad of hockey books that I have a list of going, but your story sounds incredible. Is there a place where we can go order it?
Yes, you can go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Apple iBooks. It's available worldwide from 39,000 locations through Ingram Sparks. My publisher is Talwell Publishing.
Awesome. Now we have a photo here. It shows that you have a puck. You have a Winnipeg Jets jersey, though. So, of course, your allegiance may be elsewhere. But tell us a little bit about this photo, and tell us kind of, are you still involved with the NHL, like in terms of following the Winnipeg Jets or a team, or are you still enjoying watching the sport?
Oh, yes, that's my setup. I just started the other day. This is actually only my second podcast. I had one today with Sean Chalk, and that's an official game puck from back in the early 90s, I believe. And my allegiance is still to the Jets and to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and it always will be. The only time I ever cheered for the Edmonton Oilers was that one game where Gretzky promised me his stick if they win Game 3, which they did, and he kept his promise.
Having said that, let me give you my last question here then, Douglas, before we let you go. So today, we don't really have a lot of things scheduled around talking about the Jets in today's podcast specifically that we booked in just because of the relevancy and what's happening. Right now, what's your take on this season, and what are you most looking forward to, and what are you most worried about?
I'm looking forward to the Jets having a good season. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Edmonton Oilers come out of the gate this year after they started slowly last year and they made it to the Cup final. and I'm interested in seeing how the Vancouver Canucks do, and of course all the other Canadians teams. And the watch will be on Ovechkin to see how much closer he can get to breaking Wayne's record this year.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And I mean, it will be hard to see if he can do it. I think he's 41 or 42 goals away, so that's going to be impressive. It's good to know that. What?
I was gonna say, Lost Trucker says that she thinks that by the end of the year, if Ovechkin was tied with Gretzky, it would make a really cool going into next season. Could you imagine if they're tied at the end of the year? I was like, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah, you never know, Ovi, that guy, he's an incredible goal scorer, and nothing would surprise me if he scored 30, 35, and even got close to the 40, like your guest said, and it would make an interesting story. But I don't think Ovi's going to retire until he breaks that record.
I 100% agree. Awesome. So, Doug, where do you want people to go if they want to find you, connect with you beyond where your book is sold?
They can come join me on Facebook. They can come on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. And if anybody would like a copy, like you said, they can go to Amazon, or if they're looking for a copy, I can always send them a digital one so they could read and check out the story of my new hero and the discovery of my new stick.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
We appreciate you coming on. I have one final question before we
Sure.
wrap it up, and I don't know if Evan has any more questions. Which player are you most excited to get a hockey stick from now, and how well are you getting through security to get that stick?
Well, security, I'm not getting through any of it because I think it's almost impossible. And if I could get one stick, it would definitely be Connor McDavid's.
You're just going for the grades because they're going to be worth money. You've learned that.
Well, that's it, eh?
Well, Douglas, thanks so much for taking the time.
Well, he uses a jet.
Yeah, go ahead. He uses the jet.
He uses a jet speed stick, so the name is in there. So that's the stick I would want, and it's probably the most valuable.
That is so funny. All right. Well, Douglas, thank you so much for taking the time and shifting your schedule around today with us. Guys, just so you know, you can also follow him. He will be in our former guests on our actual website at twoguysandhockeytalk.com. If you go into there, you'll be able to find his link from today's, as well as any other places you can buy his book and or find that. So we'll be able to put that up to feature. Douglas, maybe we'll chat sometime again. We'll see what happens with the Jets by the end of the year. Maybe we can be talking playoffs or something.
That's right. Thanks, boys, and I really appreciate having me on for the show.
No worries. Thank you, and stay safe. Cheers.
You too. Thank you.
Keep your stick on the ice.
Guest headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
That was incredible. Thank you, Doug. We appreciate it. We always love hearing these kind of stories. You know what, Evan? This is what makes me so excited about hockey. It's not just the game, which is exciting. It's these stories that people share about connecting with the players, connecting with the team, having that personal one-on-one
100%.
connection, that walk. That story is infamous for him, and it will never change. And I hope everyone has an opportunity to go for a walk-to-walk. And you guys can let us know in the comments, who is a player you would want to go, who current or former, that you'd want to go for a walk-to-walk with?
I like that.
I think I would say it would probably Pawel Datsyuk, just because he's got a great name and he's got cat-like reflexes, but that's just me. But go ahead.
You know what? I'm going to put that up, guys. We're going to throw that up on our Facebook page. You can make a little poster maybe there, Pawel. Throw it up on our Facebook. I'll put it up on my X over at REV, and then you can share it at hockey_2. And let's do that. Let's see. Let's give them 3 names or they can pick another. And let's see who they go for a walk with and why. I think that's really important, the why, right? You want the... By the way, I'm wearing my Pawel shirt, because we're going to talk a little KHL in a little while. Pawel Brendel, former Calgary Hitman. Just south of where we are here now. So anyway, why don't we shift right now over... let me just bring mention here. So guys, on our website, we just mentioned, under former guests, you can see how we've had various guests that have come, like Leah Hextall, Kyle Rossiter, Robbie Schrem. We've had Jesse over at the Bar Down Beauties. We had Kim Becker. We have a various amount of people that come on from all different backgrounds, even as you see today with Douglas Savage. We're not picky. We're not choosy. We just talk hockey and more hockey. And so we love it. That's what is our niche, and that's what we run with. So, but in our article, so the new article just went up. You want to get caught up. Some of the stuff stuff we'll talk about today. Some of them were not. I have my recent Demidov one. I have updates that I can talk about throughout the week. So that's why you'll follow us on other social media. We can't cover it on our podcast. However, I do want to say I had already planned. This is perfect timing. My next article will be released Friday morning. And I am going to be talking about the Iconic Five. And Wayne Gretzky, of course, is leading the way in the Iconic Five in my article on the greatest players of all time, the Mount Rushmore. So what a way to start the year. And I want to refer back to this part. So anyway, guys, just a heads up for that. So I think I'm ready now. If you're ready, we can get into talking about some of the NHL related news specifically. We have a list that we've kind of set out for ourselves here tonight. And then let's kind of run from there. Oh,
right.
look at, I got sound effects and everything. So anyway, go ahead. Why don't you get started here? I'm going to adjust my screen and we'll make a change here.
All right. We have quite a few things going on through the league. Oh, I'm just adjusting. We have quite a few things going on through the league. As you've noticed in my article, the weekly updates from the Cat, it sounds like there's a lot of PTOs that are being signed, throw them around the NHL. So it sounds like Max Pacioretty, who's 35, is coming into Toronto on a PTO to try out to see if he can get a job, potentially work on that left side. Now, they did just sign Nick Robertson, which Evan and I are going to talk about. But Nick Robertson, who had requested a trade out of Toronto, now finds himself on a 1-year, $875,000 contract. And so it looks like he's sticking around. He's going to be trying to compete in that top 6 role. He can put up points. He's got a lot of upside. His skating is a little slow, and he's not his brother, of course. But as you recall, he's still in the NHL and he can make an impact. So I always consider the Robertson brothers similar to the Bure brothers. You had Valerie and Pavel Bure, and it seems like Jason Robertson out in Dallas is very skillful, can put the puck in the net. He's up for a contract soon. But Nick Robertson,
are you talking contracts right now?
I'm talking about PTOs. I'm talking about PTOs.
Oh, okay.
And Toronto.
Okay.
And
but that was all under our segment by the numbers. You didn't follow my order today. What a guy. That's what happens. I pop off the show. Okay, go ahead. So, guys, let's finish this.
So we'll get into that. But one of the things that's been...
Okay. Here's the thing, though. We want to cover all the numbers. So I want to talk to you guys all about the PTOs, and we're going to cover the caps and all that stuff. So why don't we go ahead and try to get our advertisers? I'm trying to advertise for our boys here at Pawel.
Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
The numbers.
Maybe the lock trucker's right. Maybe I do look like I crawled out of bed and my mind is that way. I did not, but there it is. All right. And Open Eyes says, if Max wins the Cup with Toronto, Max Pacioretty, I'll never hear the end of it from Leaf fans at my job.
Oh, I know. Could you imagine? So right now, this is how far did you get? Did you guys talk about what cap they have right now and how they're going to have?
No, we just said Max Pacioretty signed a PTO, and then I got into Toronto talking about both Nick Robertson and I was talking a little bit about Jason Robertson. If you're going to the west coast of Canada and you're looking at Vancouver, it sounds like Elliot Friedman is reporting that Thatcher Demko may not be ready for the regular season.
Okay, dude, are we talking about numbers or are we talking about other stuff here, though? I just changed it. I just advertised for our numbers. Oh, my God. Okay, let me get us back on track. Before we head over there, let's cover the numbers. We want to cover Nick Robertson, the contract for Shesterkin, Crosby's signing, Giordano.
So all I mentioned is Nick Robertson and his contract. Yeah. Your thoughts on the sign?
Yeah, and you wanted to talk also about Swayman. Don't forget about that one too.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, we got to talk. Let's go back to Toronto fans are going to like this, Pawel. Anyway, guys, it's our second show of the year. We're still working through our kinks. I'm wanting to make sure we put our stuff into segments. This is new for Pawel. I'm the one that put the segments, so he's like, what the heck? Okay, so in saying that, with the Maple Leafs right now, you guys are a little bit like Edmonton, where you're trying to figure out what's going to happen because they also Hakanpää. just got signed too, did he not? Or was it a PTO today?
Nope, it was a 1 year, 1.47 million, and it clearly he passed the physical because I know that there were some questions about his physicality.
Oh, yes, I know. They're saying, is he hopping on one leg? So what I'm wondering is potentially, could we be dealing with a situation here where now Frank Saravelli is reporting that very possible Robertson does not report to camp. In other words, there could be a trade. This is from right from the daily face-off with Frank Saravelli. Some of you guys don't like him. He's been pretty reliable about 85, 90% of the time. And so the question is, could they clear their cap space by moving him? And then who moves into what position, though, right, with that? So if you're a Maple Leafs fan, go to Puckpedia. If you're out there, one of our partners, go to Puckpedia, check it out. See where the cap is right now. Right now, I'm kind of got a lot going on here, so I'm not going to go into my screen. But you guys, you're the experts out there. What's it saying for cap hit? That's what I'm worried about. So
they are at minus 1,069,000 and 667 left. So they're
let's
little
1.7.
Minus
1.7 almost?
1,069,000.
699 or just 69,000?
69,667.
Okay, so let's just call it 1.1 then, right? So they're about 1.1 they're going to have to manage. So that'll be interesting. And I know they're going to want to be like Edmonton, who wants to come in under that cap. That's why potentially, even if they do anything, they're going to go into the season without signing a PTO, which is a whole other conversation that I'm moving into. So, okay.
So I think
ahead.
there is something being made in Toronto because they really got to shore up those wings, right? I think the problem is that they're relying on their core four again. You know, Marner has a contract coming up, 1 more year left, as does John Tavares. But you have someone down the middle. Now, you can play Max Domi on the wing, but you sign him to a big number, and you may want him to be playing center, maybe third-line center, right? We'll see.
Right.
You still have the young prospect, Easton Cowan, who's going to come in and try to compete for that fourth spot. You know, you still have David Camp. Pretty much that's what's going to happen. And Jordan is saying, so you're telling me there's a chance. There is always a chance, although we'll see what happens. Now,
and there's a chance for the second round, right, around it. So let's talk about some of the other contracts.
All right. So their biggest rivals in the playoffs, Boston Bruins, they have not signed Jeremy Swayman. He is looking between $9 and $10.5 million right now. Boston allegedly, according to Ryan Whitney of the what's it called? What's the podcast name? No,
you're talking Spittin' Chicklets?
Spittin' Chicklets. See, this is my night is not happening. He's reporting that they offered him a 4 by 6.25, and it seems like he does not want that. So, what do you think his worth is? Because the other goalie in the Metro that's keeping an eye on this contract, this negotiation, is Igor Shesterkin. So, what does Jeremy Swayman get, Evan, and why hasn't he signed? Because they need a goalie soon.
Well, New York
Press says, get it done, Bruins. Yeah. They need a goalie, and they traded Olmark.
I don't think they have a choice. I think that they just need to do it. They need to show that this team is going to win. Just like they signed Draisaitl, you may not like the contract, but when your goalie makes the difference for you, you do not lose out on that goalie. In fact, in the weeks moving ahead, I have some goalies I've been connecting with, trying to get a couple. Some of them don't like the actual live video. They're like, can I just come on and talk audio? And go, I guess we can throw your face up here, around it. But so anyway, one of the things that I would suggest is that they just need to do it and sign what they can. If he's asking for an 8 by 9.5, number one, you're getting 8 years. He's a goalie that lasts. Maybe bring him in at 9. Maybe do something like Seth Jarvis. If he wants the extra money, ask him if he wants to get paid out on the end. I mean, it's just like there's ways, and I think you're superstars, and he is a superstar for the Bruins. I think you just sign him, you just do it, and you build around it. You just deal with it. That's my
So open ice hit says that if Saros only got $8 million, there's no way that Swayman deserves 9. Swayman should get 7. And then Lost Trucker is poking fun. How come you talking, Jordan? You said you would never talk again if Leon Draisaitl signed for 14 plus. And he's saying, I was also telling everyone he would sign, and I had these idiots telling me he was trading. Clearly, we're having a little bit of banter in the discussion, which is good.
Okay,
But yeah,
can
I think the
open
problem
ice?
is that
I got. Can I
Go
banter
ahead.
with open ice for a sec? Okay,
Yeah.
open ice. Now let's have a little fun here. Like this is hockey banter. My thing is now you had a goalie getting $10 million way back before the cap and was put in place that they would be dying with right now if Carey Price had not left. And you're looking at Saros as a goalie as Swayman. I don't know if you can do that. Saros to me made sense because of how he carries that team. But number one, he's not going to last the same. He doesn't have the same height. He has great agility and stuff, but I just don't see it. And yeah, I just find it weird because I know unless you're a Montreal fan that didn't think Price had the right number. So anyway, that you can banter back and you can say whatever you want because obviously we can't get no hockey brawl here. It's all comments. So
let's talk about goalie prices, and we'll get into Igor next. But you look at someone like Sergei Bobrovsky, and when Florida paid that price, everyone said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's too much. You shouldn't be paying that much for the contract." And yet now he's a Stanley Cup winner. He's won the Vezina a few times. He was very instrumental and valuable in the last 2 cup runs that they did, including last season. And it seems like he's worth it now. The cap is going up. I know Hellebuck got paid. I know a few other goalies are paid, and it's continually going up. I don't know if you can get away with it unless you increase the length of the contract, which then you can bring the AAV down. But what does Boston do? Well, you need goaltending. You traded Olmark for some reason. I don't know why they did that. When they could have kept him for one more year, I get it. So
trade deadline even, right?
I get, yeah. So I think just no, it was off season this year.
No. I said they could have held on, is what I was just saying.
Oh yeah, they could have held on to him.
And what they got for him actually,
there was a market for goalies, as Lost Trucker indicates, because Markstrom will easily outperform him. Markstrom was really sought after. I mean, Jake Allen went very high. Also to New Jersey. People wanted a goalie. You look at what San Jose got for Askarov. Goalies are in demand, right? And then Open Ice says Saros is a former Vezina nominee. He makes the most saves every year. He's top 5 in saves, GAA of the last decade. He starts 60-plus games a year and has really good 3 seasons. I agree. And if you haven't heard, as every person says, he's only 5'9". He's under 6 feet. Can you believe that as a goalie?
He's 5'11", actually, I think.
Well, sorry, yeah, 5'11", but he's still under 6 feet. So.
Anyone under 6 feet might as well be 5'5" to everybody. So hey, I
agree, but here's the thing: both Nashville and Boston play a very defensive, sound game, which helps. Which is why I'm interested to see how Olmark does in Ottawa, because their defense is kind of meh. Let's be honest, it's not Boston, right? They know how to play. Jordan says maybe the Bruins should have saved some money instead of bringing big dumb Zabadora. He was a little pricey, but he does fit the bill of what a Bruins is, a Boston Bruin is. But again, we'll see what happens. But you need a goalie, because if you're going into the season with Korpisalo, and no offense to Korpisalo, he's a backup right now. So I know he's got that $5 million cap hit.
What if? Hey, Jordan brings up a good side point here. I know we'll have to get some other comments here. Jordan, don't let this go to your head that you had a good comment. But what if they had tried to sign Vinny Desharnais instead of Zadorov and took those extra money and made Swayman happy? Huh. Interesting. What do you think, Kyle? If you come back and follow us.
Oh, I'm sure Kyle has your opinion.
And Open Ice hits, very good statistics.
So
very good. Oh, hang on. I just wanted to, I'm just talking to Open Ice. I saw you put up the marks earlier. Very good stats that you pulled up. Very interesting material that you pulled. I will submit to you that is very good, and I have no counter argument. So that doesn't happen often. So take it for what it's worth. But I still got to say, it sounds kind of hypocritical because Price was worth no $10 million when he signed. So just a thought there.
Well, he was the best goalie for a long time.
Yeah, he wasn't the best goalie. I never thought he was the best goalie.
Oh, you're going to get Habs fan all riled up, right? Here it is. And Swayman has been a tandem goalie with Horak. I agree. We haven't seen what he can do as a true number one. 100%. And that's the problem. To give him $9 million this early is a wild, in my opinion. Price won a Vezina and a Hart and had 8 years as number one. See, I agree with Open Ice.
Yeah, but you're number one when there's no competition.
If I'm the right one once in a while, Evan, I won't let it completely boost my ego only, mostly.
Hey,
And Paul says, before you get to it, they have painted themselves in a corner with Ulmark gone so far with Swayman is flexing. I agree.
Yeah.
And with the cap salary, you get a hit. Go ahead. Sorry, Evan.
I was going to say, you can't say if a guy plays as a number one for 7-8 years when you have no competition barely in Montreal, that doesn't count.
What do you mean it doesn't count?
Just because you're a number one. So that's like saying I'm a number one defenseman because there's no, like Edmonton for years, we're paying guys good money. Horkoff got good paid like a number one center, but he wasn't a number one center. On a contending team, you're not going to be there. And he only had a couple
to
years.
Carey
So.
Price? Oh, my
Anyway.
goodness. That's silly. So now look at New York Rangers and what do they do? Because they're against the cap. You know, do they sign Igor?
Well, okay, so let me finish off with Price. Let's go into Igor. So let me give you this. He is going to the Hall of Fame. He is considered one of the best goalies of all time. People talk about him like Patrick Waugh. I just don't see the results the same outside of individuality as far as the team goes. But I'm going to give that to you because barely anyone would agree with me. Okay, let's hit Igor, man.
All right, so Igor is also looking to sign a big contract, 10 plus 5, even 11 million. Do you think the Rangers do it, and can they make it happen, or do they got to trade away some pieces to make it happen?
They're going to have to trade to make that. I don't even see how they make that contract. I was just talking. So Jack, if you're following, make sure you send me some information. I met Jack in the West Mediterranean. He's from Jersey and he's a New York Rangers fan. He's got his own podcast. We're going to get him on sometime. But so Jack, if you're following, I need a little bit of help. You tell me how they're going to flex that cap. Because one thing that we've talked about, and we've talked about guys that working in the Rangers media, we got some coming on again this year. They're going to tell you they always go with veterans. They didn't even take Chris Knobloch. Why? Because they wanted a veteran NHL coach. They want veterans. Like right now, I don't even think Othman's going to play this year. I mean, he's put on another, 10, 15 pounds of muscle. These guys are ready to go, but they're going to play veterans. That's just the way the Rangers, that's why Chris Drury makes it work. By the way, this is I think a make it or break it for Chris Drury here. I see the old boys club booting him if he doesn't do something this year.
Open Eyes Heads thinks Igor is the best current goalie in the league. I don't know. I think he's up there. I'm trying to think who else would be up there. I mean, I would say he's got good numbers. But you look at like Sergei Bobrovsky and what he's been able to do and turn his career around. And that's in part to Roberto Luongo, who, as we mentioned on our story in our Facebook page, applied to an ad to fill in for a beer hockey league and still let in a few goals. And I saw you commenting and chatting with some people who said that he wasn't any good. Well, I mean, he's 45 years old. I mean, and he's coming in a little bit raw after partying.
Well, and this is what I had commented. I had played some of those beer league games. And so as a goalie, you know what happens when it hits a part of the shaft of the stick, or there's up high, you see the puck rolling, but then it takes a flubber bounce and it's bad ice, it's chips in the ice, and then the guy shoots it with his stick and it hits the end of the stick on the inside heel on a weird bounce, and you're in position. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, it bounces off another one of the players on your own team. It's just like, come on, buddy. If you've ever played beer league hockey, I don't care how good you are. You could be Carey Price, and you're still going to let him in.
Well, Lost Trucker says no Habs goalie will ever match Dryden's stats, style, and IQ. And Jordan says being from, being from Jersey and liking the Rangers is like preferring pizza in New York over Italy.
Oh, boy. I'm going to actually screenshot that. And I'm going to send it to Jack. That is hilarious. Good one, Jordan.
Now, I will say, so I know Open Ice said it. I think one goalie just came to mind because I'm trying to remember everything. As when you're as old as me and not as sharp as Evan, the mind's a little rusty. But I would say Ilya Sorokin out in the island is also really good. And you look at that contract, and I think that's something that both Swayman and or Igor are looking at in that range. So I think that is something that would be comparable. And I would say he's probably one of the best, probably top 3 goalies. Now, Evan, we've talked about this before.
Okay.
Can you maybe just comment about how there's a plethora of Russian goalies and how elite they are? And what is it that Russia's doing to make these guys and becoming a factory for goaltenders? Because because Canadians are struggling. And I know that, Jordan asked about Carter Hart earlier. Let me just find the comment. But your
Okay.
thoughts quickly before I bring that comment back.
Yeah, so we shared on our show quite a while back. I had looked into that with some of the guys that are training down in the U.S. and over in because you'll notice U.S. goalies are a lot better than they used to be. Like there was always one or two. There's way more better U.S. goalies than there's ever been, and Canadians been dealing. There's no particular reason anyone can design, but right now in Russia, number one, you got to think about confidence in a goalie. Ben Scrivens, I believe, who used to play, known as the Professor, used to play for the Oilers. Actually, I just heard him a couple days ago. If you get a chance, go to Oilers Nation. Oilers Now with Bob Stauffer. He gives a little bit, and he talks about what it is to get good at your game. Too many shots, so few shots. The KHL, you can get a lot of shots, but they're not as high a quality shots. It builds the confidence of a goaltender. You know what I hate? If you're a team, I don't care if you're a beer league, don't go slap shotting and putting the pucks behind the goalie during practice. Shoot them to his glove. Shoot them to his blocker. Try to hit him in the chest. Don't hit him in the head. Don't try to go in the corners. Let him warm up. Goalies need to warm up. And one thing that they've done is they've been very careful and they're very strategic, very robotic in Russia, how they train their goalies and the time that they put together to produce them. You don't find 18-year-old goalies either. Hence the time to ripen. Canada has always been notorious for jumping them at 18, 19 years old right away. So that's one of the things in training that they also believe that the training for a goalie is more so than other hockey players, that they do a lot of off-ice stuff about puck tracking. So it's like literally you could go out and act like a goalie, take a baseball glove with a tennis ball, and sit on a Bocey ball where you're balancing your core and you're also flipping out. It's getting the tracking, or even keeping one eye closed. They'll patch their eyes. It's almost like Rocky IV, where you're training with the eye of the tiger. So anyway, those are some of the things that they've been doing. Canada hasn't quite picked up. Not everyone's going to agree with me on that. No one has a consensus, but they are doing much better at tracking. And all you guys got to do is look at the numbers in the NHL of star goaltenders.
Yeah, and so Open Ice says USA has Hellebuck, Demko, Ottinger as their best goalie options. I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to get into Demko in just a sec, as I alluded to earlier. He also mentioned that Dryden won 6 Cup in 8 years. He's like the Bill Russell of hockey. But Jordan says, 6 Cup in 8 years with only 6 teams is laughable. But he also asks, what's it called? If a goalie, NHL allows a goalie like Carter Hart for league minimum, I'm sure they would. The problem is he was recently denied a visa due to the ongoing conflict with case trial that's happening. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. So unfortunately, it's going to be limited. So I wanted to get your thoughts, I know, about Demko. So do you want to lead us into that?
Yeah, so around Demko, I know we talked a little bit last week just around some of the Demko stuff and the health.
16 teams on Dryden playing. Jordan and Rusty as
What? What? So I didn't get that. What's happening?
Oh, Lost Trucker said to Jordan, 16 teams at the time when Dryden played for Jordan's comments. So Jordan's getting Rusty's pause. You guys are laying into us tonight. I love it.
Oh, man. Okay, so yeah, with Demko, there's some different stories. It could be more than one possible injury. I know I reported this at the beginning of last year with some of the trainers that had been letting this kind of leak out slowly. They, not direct trainers, but some that were around the team. And I told everyone, he's not coming back for playoffs. You'll be lucky if he's ready for the season opener. And that right now, the problem is it's not a surgery he can do to heal the injury. And right now, we're not getting the exact details. There's just minimal details that are coming out with Demko. What I'm worried about, Pavel, is that this injury could be, even if he does recover, is it very possible that this injury could reoccur? I know people are talking about workloads, kind of like they do in the NBA for goalies a little bit more. That's one thing I'm worried about, Saros, by the way. Yeah. Though they call it load management. You got to be careful in hockey. They don't quite accept things like they do for basketball. But having said that, I think that if, he can play like, say, 45 games and then the rest are left to the backups, that maybe he'll be ready for the playoffs if he's able to get back. So right now, the earliest it sounds like he's even going to have a chance is probably November. is what I'm actually kind of heard a couple of rumblings going around. I don't know how legit that is. But the Canucks aren't just stuck with that. They also have Brock Besner coming back, and he's recovering. He was out at the end of the playoff series there because of his blood. So he's off blood thinners. He's back at full contact practice, but they're going to have to monitor it very closely, including flights, because of blood pressure, right? When you get up into the altitudes and stuff like that. So Vancouver has some interesting things going on. I see a lot going on in the background there. I don't know if people are commenting, but anyway, yeah, Vancouver's going to be an interesting story.
Awesome. So before we get to a few other topics and things around the rink, as well as your Rev Top 15, because I know we're running low on time.
I think we'll skip Rev's Top 15 and we'll pull her next week.
All right. So quickly, I know we talked about it. We've been jumping all over. There's so much news, even though the hockey hasn't even dropped yet. The puck is not on the ice.
Well, okay. Let me correct that. You say this all the time. Hockey has begun. The KHL, baby, is going.
Yes,
the CHL is going. There's training camps. There's junior. There's minor. There's leagues everywhere. But Pawel is on the NHL, so he always says hockey hasn't started to him. So I'd like to mention
the best league in the world. I'm sorry. It's the best league.
And in all fairness to some of you guys asking us when they say, well, hey, you didn't know these facts. I want you to realize we follow everything hockey. So we do our best to keep on top of it. But until you're ready to pay us a day job, I don't think we're going to have all those stats ready for you every single night on our podcast. But we'll
100%.
try.
Now, I will say, because I think the NHL is the best league in the world, if the KHL, AHL are listening and they want to entice us with a nice trip anywhere to go see any specific game beyond where we are, we'll happily change your tune. Well, at least I will. You can easily sway me with a nice trip. So I know we talked about go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's good. I was going to say, I plan at sometime this year or next year to make a trip to Germany. But I was thinking maybe I should zip up to Russia. Hopefully things might be changed and I can find a way to see if I can get a sponsorship with the KHL.
And guys, we're going to let you know that we have a writer coming on, Frank. Going to be some details following up this week onto our site where he's going to write both stories about in German and in English about German hockey, including Leon Draisaitl's dad and some of the stories he has right there. And so what I want to go ahead.
Does he not? I believe he has a story he's going to be sharing about Tretiak and meeting him personally and traveling in a cab with him.
Yeah.
So that'll blow Lost Trucker. That'll blow your Dryden stories away.
So I want to talk about your lovable Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby has not signed. What happens here? I know there's a lot of rumblings. It sounds like he wants to be a Penguin for life, but the team is just kind of just on the cusp of just making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Will Sidney Crosby sign? And will the Pittsburgh Penguins make the playoffs and can make a splash for one more run?
Yeah, he'll be signed by camp next week.
Yeah, and Open Ice said it's probably not the best time to visit Russia. I agree, but
Well, actually, so Open Ice, you're probably not familiar. One of our guests, Daryl Wolski, Hockey Agency 2112, Hockey 2112. He's one of our agents, so he has players. So, in fact, he places players even during this time in the KHL. That's one of the leagues that he sends players to. In the first year of, coming back after the pandemic shutdown for a bit, actually, the KHL had 60-some plus Canadian players. Crazy numbers, and I think another 20 Americans. So anyway, so that was an interesting piece. So,
all right. So Lost Trucker says no Penguins in the playoff. They've been put off the ice. And Open Ice says Crosby should go to the Avs and play in his last few years with McKinnon. That would be incredible. A 1-2 punch of McKinnon. Oh, the Avs would be deadly. All right. I want to get to Around the Rink. Let's get to that sponsor, Evan. Because we have some things going on that is making news with the PWHL.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
Awesome. So Around the Rink is brought to you by Kalkaska Battlers. Go check them out if you're in the region. They're a great team. They're just getting their season started up, and we're looking forward to partnering with them. Now, Evan,
Minor pro. But it is important to let everyone know they are a minor pro league that is in what's called the American Premier Hockey League, the APHL.
now, they had one inaugural season. Minnesota won. It was wild. It was fun. Viewership was crazy. Attendance was record-breaking. People continued to attend. And now we have the names. We have Boston Fleet,
Woo!
Minnesota Frost, Montreal Victory, New York Sirens, Ottawa Charge, and Toronto Scepters. Your thoughts on the names and what we're expecting from season 2? Can Minnesota repeat? Because we're going to be keeping an eye on some of the players and some of the matchups.
Yeah, I see Minnesota. I can be quick on this. I see Minnesota repeating. I like the name the Frost, kind of. I will say I did not like it at first. The New York Sirens, I love it. The Toronto Scepters, awful name. I do not like it, but the logo I think is wonderful. Yeah. Great idea, looks great. Scepters, Toronto, I just don't like. Are you trying to say that you're royalty in Canada and in the PWA? I don't know. It's just like it's one of those things. So, and I do not like the Chargers as far as the Ottawa team, and it looks like a ripoff. I saw someone post. It says the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Calgary Flames had a baby, and it's called the Ottawa Chargers. That wasn't me. That was someone else.
You guys can let us know what you thought. Jordan says the PWHL names are kind of boring. Only one that maybe looks cool is the Frost. And Chargers rip off the Flames. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's their first season. You know that name changes happen all the time. Elks, Eskimos, things like that. Washington.
And all our American fans are like, Elks, Eskimos, what's that mean?
Washington Redskins, which I think they're changing now again because they're the Washington
Commanders?
Football Club. Yeah, they're the Commanders, but they were just the football club. Yeah. So things always change. Now, we spoke a little bit about the KHL and how much we love it, but you have some reporting about players being told something.
Oh, yeah. So one thing that's actually happened now, including guys like Demidov. So Demidov and other players, Mishkov, you'll notice a lot of times players are like, well, for example, Demidov did only get 10 minutes of time. He got a block shot. The third period, I think he played between 1 and 2 minutes. They're not playing well for SKA, and you think that something would change. I think he's going to get loaned somewhere else to play out his season. They're not a development league for their players, but the KHL tells their players, if you're not going to get to play full-time for your NHL team, you do not go to their AHL. You come back to Russia. And, of course, there's a lot of authority that comes with the KHL. It comes with your family. I mean, I hate to say that, but there are things behind the scenes. And so you will never usually notice a Russian player go in unless they come over early and they play in the CHL. That's the only path that you will find. They will not be in the KHL, sign, and then go back. And that's why so if you're not sure, a KHL team owns what would be called the AHL style, okay, and which is the VHL. And then they have their minor, which is the MHL, like say the USHL or the CHL in Canada and the US. And they own, so they stick with that team. They have the ownership. And they will sign that player early, so they have at least 1 year on their contract still. So that's kind of how Russia does it in the KHL.
Now, this is a story that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on. And again, beyond Frank, we have Patrick Conway, who's been on the show before, going to be writing a lot about the KHL and more about this and other storylines that are happening there. But the other one that's coming out recently is that with the Four Nations Cup, Russia is going to continue to be banned from any international representation, which I think is silly. But okay, your thoughts on this? What do we do? You have a lot of Russian players who want to represent their country. You have Ovechkin, you have Kucherov. What do you do? How do you approach this?
So it actually, as a fan, it angers me because they're playing already. They're playing on North American soil. They're playing in other places. They have Russians from other countries that are working in other jobs. Entertainment in other countries, in Italy and all these other places. They're not sanctioned from working. Why are we punishing what a government is doing to the actual individual players? I do understand you do not want to have the country represented, but as they've done at a previous Olympics when they were dealing with problems, they actually went under an independent name.
Yeah.
So that I don't know if I some of you might remember the name that they used, but Russia went under a different name,
I
and
think
that
something Federation, the Russian Federation or something like that. I can't
yeah.
remember.
So if you guys know, quickly put it in there or do a quick Google. You can for us. But anyway, that's to me what you do. Because right now they're bringing them over into all the leagues, but because it's the double IHF, you know, the International Ice Hockey Federation, they're in charge and they got these sanctions. But these players want to represent. They're not even in Russia and they still can't go. So that's okay. Don't let them represent Russia. But if you're Russian, let them form their own group and have someone in charge of it. Russia's not paying for it. Russia's not getting the credit for it. I don't know about you. The foreign nations will be a fun little pickup hockey thing for me. It'll be fun, but it won't mean a lot as being the best in the world. And if they are not at the next Olympics, which might be the only chance Canada has to have someone like Crosby and McDavid and McKinnon together at the same time, that will not truly be the best Team Canada of all time if there is no Russia team to beat at the same time.
I agree. I think there needs to be something else figured out because if they're playing in the NHL, I don't see the big difference. Good topics. You guys can let us know what your thoughts on Russia being involved in the NHL. One final thing from Around the Rink. I know you talked about Mike Glenser's talented hockey. What's it called? Player from Rosenheim Red Bulls and DEL.
Germany.
You want to talk a little bit about that and what's happening there?
So this is a really sad story. Happened. So what happened, another player, I'm not going to use the name just because the other one starts spreading all the rumors. If you want to look it up, you go find it. He had a really bad hit. It was not a good hit. Very questionable call, just like we see a lot of time in hockey. Not like we're talking in junior and brawl hockey, beer league, all that kind of stuff. This is worse than the Bertuzzi type of stuff, right? And so, but these guys were in an incident, and Michael Glesner, very talented for the Rosenheim Red Bulls in the DEL of the Germany League, has now sued the other player for up to about $1 million, I believe euro. Now, in here, this is, and what makes this sad is they were both teammates and very good friends once upon a time. But this could set precedent if they're ruled in favor in this hit from behind, this behind hit, which severely injured Michael. What could happen is this could set precedent for NHL and AHL and any other league that what happens, how do you eliminate stuff that's on ice when people can fall off balance and what looks like one thing. So this is going to be a very interesting story to follow over the next months.
100%. And Jordan says Ovi is past his prime, man. Well, of course, he's 37 turning 38. I mean, he's getting to the end, and I think he wants to finish out his career in the KHL once he's gotten that record broken. He's accomplished everything he wanted to in the league.
Yeah. All right, Matt. I'm looking at the time. I know we probably had about a half an hour more material.
Yes.
I do want to. We have a new segment that I just added today. It's about 2 minutes. Do you want to add one last thing before I finish us off with the last segment?
Nope. I think we're good to go. Keep going.
Okay. So, guys, what we want to do is we want to start adding some, like we did today. We opened up with a little bit of hockey history and the stories. So we're just going to bring you some short and interesting facts, some things that have happened every once in a while. So we bring to you hockey history.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents
Hockey history.
Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers!
All right, guys. So I want to take you guys back to the 80s because I figured that what good timing because we had some conversation about the Jets a little bit earlier and around that. And it was called the Good Friday Massacre. So if Open Ice, you're still with us right now, you will probably know, I'm not sure your age, but you will probably know about the Good Friday Massacre that happened on April 20th, 1984 in the playoffs between the Quebec Nordique and the Montreal Canadiens. So two things really important. First of all, you got to realize they ended. I'm trying to remember who was it. Bruce Hood. Bruce Hood was the referee. I had my side notes here. Bruce Hood was the referee. It got so out of control. Remember, they had one referee back then. So out of control, they had to end the period early, send everyone unofficially off of the ice because I believe it was something like 14 altercations were going on in a bench brawl. Now, Mario Tremblay of the the Montreal Canadiens smashed Peter Stastny, who is their star player, smashed his nose. And you got to go check Stastny's stats. He is a Hall of Famer for sure, man. This guy is one of the best in the Hall. And Nordiques had another guy named Slider who knocked Canadians' Gene Hamill unconscious by sucker punching him in the eye. That's why it was called the Good Friday Massacre. This was a playoff game. It was out of control. Eventually, what would end up happening is the Canadians would obviously win that year and in preceding years. And so before the Quebec Nordiques eventually wrapped up and they started falling backwards in their ability to compete on the ice and things changed. So anyway, guys, so that was something that was really cool that was in hockey history. All right, bud.
All right.
I think that's it. That's about time to call it a wrap.
We're getting to the end there. Well, speaking of Canadians, I think we'll finish off on this topic because we do like two guys in overtime, and there's a lot of engagement tonight. I wanted to get your thoughts on Patrik Laine. I know we've been talking a little bit about Columbus and what's going on there with Johnny Gaudreau, the story and everything going on there. But Patrik Laine being traded to the Montreal Canadiens now. They have a goal scorer. He's got 2 more years left at that $6.8 million. He was in that player assistance program because he was dealing with some stuff. He's come out. He's refreshed. He's gotten his number. He's coming into the team. What can we expect from Patrik Laine? And can he, with a guy like Nick Suzuki, be set up and play on that top power play line? And potentially, I know Cole Caulfield, we talked a little bit about it, usually has that spot. What can we expect for him? 20, 30, 40, 50 goals.
Yeah. He has the potential, right? We know that the guy was a goal scorer. I think with the difference between getting his own personal life, which seems to be back on track, there was some things that were going on behind the scenes. Yeah. He feels confident. The team feels confident. There's a lot of good excitement happening in the Canadiens franchise right now. And having someone like Suzuki, who is an incredible playmaker, I actually envision him at like 32 and 25. So, looking at probably about 62, 65 points that I think you're looking at, which would be a steal for them right now to get that many goals.
Love that if they can get them.
And Slavkovsky's probably going to be on the other side. I saw someone tweet out over 600 and some pounds possibly on the first line.
Yeah. Open Ice, it says for your hockey history, the Good Friday Massacre was a beautiful way to end it. All that mattered is who won in the long run. Sorry, Nordique fans, for what could have been great shows. I'm glad I caught it. Well, we appreciate you tuning in again. We love it. We're just going to finalize. I just want to mention one last thing. Adam Larsson re-signs with the Seattle Kraken. Seattle coming in. I know there's been rumblings of a basketball team going in there with the NBA expanding as well as in Vegas. What are you expecting from Seattle? And do you like this contract for Adam Larsson? 4 years at $5+ million.
Veteran leadership. They need to get through a couple more years before they can build up. That's what I think.
Is he captain material, or do you hold off and give that to Manny Berniers?
No.
Or Jared McCann?
I think you wait a year and see what happens.
Awesome. That's it for me. It's been another wonderful, and I'll let Evan say his ring-a-ding-ding-dandy show. We appreciate you guys tuning in, coming on board, wherever you are streaming us, or if you're streaming this later on throughout the week. We appreciate it. Remember to give us a like, share, subscribe. We've got articles going on all the time on our website, Two Guys and a Hockey Talk. Remember to go on, check it out. Go to our Facebook page. We're sharing daily. We're commenting. We're chatting with you guys. Message us. Let us know what you want to hear or don't want to hear, how little you don't want to listen to Evan talk about goalies, and
knowing nothing.
and knowing nothing, just like myself. But that's pretty much it on my end. We will be back here again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Evan, any final thoughts before we step away?
It's been a ringer, ding dong dandy. But as we say every week, man, that's it for me. So in the meantime and in between time,
Keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe, guys. Cheers.
cheers.